Hi everyone, and welcome to episode number 163 of the Karen Knits podcast. My name is Karen, and I'm coming to you from South Central Pennsylvania, where I live, where I work, where I knit, and get into all kinds of other crafting shenanigans. I'm so happy to have you here with me today. It is Saturday, May 27th, 2023, and it's a gorgeous Saturday morning. And it actually is still morning when I'm filming this. We have plans to go out this afternoon, so I have to get this done now, or it won't get done today, because we won't be back before, I'm guessing, 8 or 10 o'clock tonight. So anyway, so this week has been super productive. I got down to zero whips, and that lasted for a whole couple hours. And now I've got 3 whips going already. It did not last long. So, first one, my Rachel top is done. I love it. I absolutely love it. It took forever to make. Oh, before I forget, it's a pattern by Veronica Job, and I really like it. I knit this using loops and threads wool-like, and I used almost the entirety of 3 skeins. I have a little ball, I forgot to bring it over here with me. I have a little 2-gram ball of yarn left. That is it. Other than the ends that got snipped off after I wove in some ends. So I finished knitting this on Sunday, this past Sunday, because you saw when I showed you last week, I only had part of a sleeve left to finish. So I got that finished. I got all the ends wove in, and I got it blocked. And since this is an acrylic yarn, I pinned it all out and I took my steamer to it and I steamed it. And it worked out nicely. It grew quite a bit in length, which I'm perfectly happy with. It's almost a tunic length, which I'm perfectly happy with, because I don't really want overly short sweaters. I like them to be a little bit longer so that they cover part of my belly, or most of my belly. But the sleeves, oh, I love it. I really do love this. I will have to wear something under it because of the way the lace pattern goes all the way through. It is a little bit sheer, so I will have to get a camisole or a probably a tank top to wear underneath it. But for now, I don't have one right now, so I'm not wearing one right now. But you can't see all the skin underneath this right now. So, but that's my first finished object, and I'm so happy with it. I really am so happy with it. I started this back in, I believe it was last September. So it did take me quite a while to get it done. I seemed to pick it up, work on it frantically for a while, and then something else would catch my eye, and I'd work on that and this would get neglected. And then I'd pull this out again and I would work on it quite a bit for a bit and then put it aside. So if I had just sat down and buckled down and worked on it consistently, it would have taken far less time than that. But that's not what I did. So be it. Oh, ambulance. I'm trying to tell if he's coming closer. No, he's going farther away. I have another finished object, and these are my May toe-up Sorta Shorty socks. These are the 5th pair in my series, I guess you could call them, of Sorta Shorty socks that I've been making. Here's the rest of the pile. They are being made from a 12-day advent calendar I bought from Orlando Fiber Arts last Christmas, and each month each of the 12 days, which I am using as a month, have a 50-gram skein of yarn. 50 grams is perfect for a Sorta Shorty socks for me. I'm using, it's toe up, I'm doing them 2 at a time. So I start with a bare yarn for the toe, and that's 20 rounds of increasing, over 20 rounds where I'm increasing to get to a 64 stitch count. Then I do 55 rounds of stockinette in the main color. Then there's 20 rounds of gusset increasing, which brings me to a perfect length for my big foot. Then I do the heel turn and heel flap as just a slip stitch heel flap with the bare yarn again. And then I reintroduce the main color and I do 25 rounds on the leg, and then switch to doing a 2x2 ribbing until I completely run out of my 50 grams. Then I reintroduce the bare yarn. I'm forgetting my words already. I reintroduce the bare yarn and do a quick little pop of color just so that I can use up every last drop of my main color, and I can finish off and do a nice even finish and a bind off. So I kind of do the same idea as Kay Litton does with her little pop of color at the top of the cuff. And for me, I'm doing toe up, so it's how I end my sock. So there we go. My toe up Sorta Shorty socks from May 2023 are done. And I will be opening the June yarn next week. I have to wait till, when is the first? Thursday? Friday, Thursday? Next week. How many days are there? 30 or 31 days in May? Anyway, I will be opening up my June yarn in a few days. So, 2 finished objects. Finished this on Sunday, finished these on Monday. So as of Monday early afternoon, I was down to 0 whips. I actually took a picture of my Ravelry page that showed all of my projects as finished. 0 works in progress. And then I started casting things on. There's no hope for me, really. There's 0 hope. And as it stands now, I have 3 whips right now. Although granted, one of them is going to be an ongoing, never-ending kind of project. And that is knit dishcloths. So I have 2 more finished objects. I have a whole bunch of yarn. I have a lot of skeins of yarn. If I remember, if I can, I will include a picture of the stash of cotton yarn that I have. This is all from a friend of mine from church who gave me a whole pile of her yarn. There was a bunch of cotton yarn in there. So I'm just going to work my way through that. I'm using a basic diagonal pattern. Starting here, it's a no holes one, so instead of doing the yarn over, you do a reverse yarn over each round when you're increasing, and you don't, so that twists the stitch so you don't have the hole. And I prefer that look. So this was what was left of, there was a partial skein in this really cute colorway. I have no idea. Most of the cotton yarns that are in there do not have labels on them, so no idea what they are. But it was almost enough. I finished that skein completely, and I picked up one that was sort of coordinating and did the last little bit on the decreasing rounds. So there's that finished object. I will put a link to, the pattern is not on Ravelry. It, I forget where, I don't remember where I first saw a link to this particular dishcloth. And I will put a link to the web page down in my description. And the page has 3 diagonal patterns. I don't know what the difference is between the first 2, but they both have the small little hole on the edging. And again, those I don't want those, so, but the 3rd pattern on the page is the no hole version. So that's the one I'm following, but I will put a link to that pattern down below. And this was the 2nd one I did. And again, this is a partial skein of yarn. And I started with that ball, and you can see where there's a few rounds or a few rows of the starting green right here, and then I transitioned, I ran out of yarn somewhere around this part here, and then there was another larger skein of this kind of tonal green, and I just switched over and continued on and finished it with that green. You'd never know it wasn't from the same skein. This coordinated perfectly. So 2 dishcloths, and I have a bunch more. I'm using, I think, a 4.5 millimeter needles for that, and I'm just using up whatever yarn she has or she gave me. Some of them I'll keep for myself, some of them I will give away. I don't know what I'm going to do with them all, but this will be an ongoing whip. So whenever I need something that's just kind of mindless, travel knitting, stuff like that, I'm going to be taking this with me this afternoon. We're going over to a friend's place for a barbecue this evening, and it's about a 2-hour drive from our place to their place. So we're going with another couple that live in town where we do. So the 4 of us are going to go together. The husband and the other couple, he's going to do the driving, so I will be free to knit. So I'm going to take more of I'm going to finish off this yellow and white variegated, and whatever else I will finish, and I'm just going to take 2 or 3 balls of the yarn and just happily knit all the way there, all the way home again. So home, I might not get as much done on the way home because it might be getting a little darker by the time we're coming home, but we shall see. So technically 4 finished objects this week. I'm impressed with myself. So I will be showing you a few dishcloths here and there as I work on them. I'm hoping to get a couple more done today, 2 or 3 today, maybe only 2. I don't know how many I'll get done in the car while we're busy yakking at the same time. So that's one ongoing whip. The second one I have, and you might recognize this bag, is where my Sorta Shorty monthly socks live. I have cast on the toes for my June toe up Sorta Shorty socks. So I'm not opening my June yarn yet, but I wanted to get the toes done ahead of time. So the dishcloths I started up, I finished the May socks on Monday, and I started the dishcloths on Monday. A little break for a couple hours there. These I cast on yesterday on the 26th, and I got most of the toe done yesterday, and I had, I think, four rounds to do this morning to finish off the toes. So again, that's using the bare yarn for the toes, and I will be opening up the June or day 6 of my advent calendar. I'll be opening that up on the 1st of June and get going on working up the foot then. I also have a couple other whips or a couple other projects I'm going to start on the 1st of June, but I'll talk about that in just a bit. So those I just cast on yesterday, and technically those are going to be part of the summer sock camp with Crazy Sock Lady. I was kind of informally joining along with that, so I thought, well, she's starting the sock camp started it yesterday on the 26th. So I thought, oh, why not? I'm just going to cast on, and that'll be an excuse to cast on. And then once I continue with the socks on the 1st of June, they will be an entry once they're finished as a completed pair of socks during summer sock camp. So that'll be part of, I'll be joining in, and that'll be part of that knit along kind of thing. Another project that, this one I blame on, why am I drawing a blank? Alex from My Yarny Corner. I'm blaming this on her. I started a Penguano. I have the first part done, so the piece for that probably blew out the camera something fierce. Yeah, that's kind of loud. It's almost like what's the word I'm looking for? I guess safety green yellow kind of fluorescent thing. But I have the square one, or piece part 1 is done. So this is a pattern by Stephen West. I saw Alex making and working on hers she had talked about starting it, and then she just went zipping through it, got it done all quick as can be, and I like the look of the pattern. So I have one of the West Knits, Best Knits West Knits books that had the Penguano pattern in it. So I thought, I have the pattern, why not? What I'm doing with it is because with that pattern, there might be some of you who've already made this sweater, but your gauge is determined by, or your gauge and the yarn you use is what determines what size the sweater is going to be when it's done. So it is an oversized sweater or cardigan. I don't want it hugely oversized. So I am using 2 strands of sport weight yarn together. And I'm going to work my way through and use up some of my own hand-dyed yarns. So this is one of my hand-dyed yarns, this bright glowing color. And the plan, I think, for the whole thing is going to be to hold 1 strand of bare yarn and 1 strand of the other yarn. So here you can see I've used the 2. The bare and this highlighter yellow green color. I don't know how on earth, what dye I used to get this bright thing. Anyway, so I have the first step done. This down at the bottom here is the provisional cast on. The color's similar, so it's just a crochet provisional cast on. At the top, there's a handful of bound off stitches, which I've just used some blue cotton to hold those stitches aside. So that I cast on Wednesday. And it's knitting up pretty quickly. I'm ready to start the welts. I'm going to see if I have a little bit of time to work on that today before we head out. But this is going to be, Penguano is going to be the project I focus on most during this week, up until the 1st. So between now and the 1st, so until Thursday, I think is the 1st. I think Thursday is the 1st. Anyway, so I'm going to work on that as my focus project this week. See how much I can get done. Like I say, using the 2 strands of sport weight together on, I think it's 6.5 millimeter needles. I think there's 6.5 millimeter needles. I think. They're, after using sock yarn and sock needles, they're big fat needles in comparison. But it knits up fairly quickly. And I'm planning on hopefully get a little bit more work done on that before we blast off this afternoon. Our ride is picking us up at 2. It's 11:30, almost 11:30 now while I'm filming. So once I get the editing done, I'll be free to knit until they come and pick us up at 2 o'clock. And then I'm taking dishcloths with me to work on while we are heading over to our other friend's place for barbecue this afternoon. So that is the plan. So my 3 whips, Penguano, which I'm hoping to have a lot more to show you by next week, but we shall see how far I get. Second whip that I did a little bit on and I will come back to on the 1st are my June Sorta Shorty socks, and the dishcloths are going to be an ongoing whip. Now I have 2 more projects that I am planning on casting on the 1st of June, including, so 1st of June I'm going to be adding on to my new color onto my Sorta Shorty socks. I am going to join in a bit of a knit along with Karen from Recreational Knitting. She is going to be starting working on the Salty Air tee, and I love the look of that tee, so it's her fault that I'm casting that on. I'm putting the blame on all kinds of people. It does not take much to twist my little rubber arm to join up on these things. So I'm afraid I am going to be up to 5 whips in a little while, which is probably too much. But I'll deal with that when the time comes. Certain things will get neglected. You'll probably not see progress on all 5 whips other than next Saturday. You will not likely see progress on all 5 whips until, except for probably on next week's podcast. I'll have worked on all 5 of them this week, and then into the next week I'm starting to suspect a few of them might start to get neglected. We shall see. So Penguano, the June Sorta Shorty socks, the ongoing dishcloths, which I suspect after this weekend, when I get the when I work on the socks, when I work on the dishcloths today while we're traveling, I suspect after today I probably won't work on dishcloths again for a while. So there'll be that. Then there's the Salty Air tee, which is going to be cast on the 1st of June. And then the 5th project that will be cast on probably on the 1st is part of the Super Sock World Championship. So I talked about this one a bit last week, and the qualifying round pattern for Super Sock World Championship will be released, I believe, sometime on the 1st of June. 1st or 2nd of June. And it is part of that knitting competition, which is a little bit more casual than Sock Madness, but still has some levels of pressure on that. In order to get all of the patterns during the competition, if you've registered, you need to complete one of the 2 options for the qualifying round. And those have to be finished in either a 10-day or 2-week window. I think it's a 2-week window of time. So if you finish the qualifying round pair of socks, one of the two patterns that they'll release, if you finish those properly within that window of time, then you will receive the rest of the patterns. And my goal is to finish one or the other. I'm not sure which pattern I will do. We don't know what the pattern is yet. All we know so far for the qualifying round is that they always have a more complicated or a less complicated pattern. I believe which will be the more complicated pattern calls for 2 50-gram skeins of yarn. And I don't know any more detail than that. We don't know if it's stranded, whether it's mosaic, whether it's stripes, no idea yet. So the first pattern, one of the patterns calls for 2 50-gram skeins. The second pattern calls for 100 grams of a solid tonal or striping pattern yarn. So I'm not sure which pattern I will do. I will wait until I see both patterns and make the decision. But I do want to finish the qualifying round pair of socks. So I suspect once June 1st comes around, my main priority pattern is going to be that pair of socks. And then I will see what the subsequent round patterns look like and make decisions on which ones I want to make. So you can skip around, I can skip round 1 and do round 2, whatever. But my main goal is to get the qualifying round pair of socks done during the time frame for that. So those are all my knitting details for the week. It's been busy and it's going to continue to be busy. I will have, like I say, I'm going to work on I want to see how much I can get done on Penguano before the 1st. This afternoon and potentially tomorrow morning at church, I will work on dishcloths. So Penguano I will continue working on. I'll work on dishcloths tomorrow, or today and maybe tomorrow morning. I'll work on Penguano the rest of the time until we are ready for the qualifying round to come out on the 1st. Then on the 1st, I'm going to want to open up my June yarn from here. So I will be opening this baby. I have no idea what the June yarn will look like. I have to wait till the 1st to open it. Oops. I'm getting tangled up here. There we go. So I will be probably wanting to cake up and get moving with the June socks. I will want to cast on my Salty Air Tea, which I'm going to be using. I can't reach it from here, but if you remember back September, when I was trying to decide which color to make, which yarn to make this shirt in, I was trying to decide between this, I think this one was called Teal Lake was the name of the color, and there was also like a pale icy blue kind of color. I was trying to decide between those two, and I decided on this color for the Rachel top. So I'm going to use the other blue for the Salty Air Tea. I will be making a few modifications to that shirt. I do absolutely want to make the sleeves a little bit longer. I want to make them like this one that comes up to about the elbow. And I'll also want to make it a little bit longer down the body. It has a lace yoke and then it's stockinette the rest of the way down. So once the yoke is done, it's just going to be a nice simple knit, just knitting around and around and around in circles. So I have 3 skeins of yarn for that, so that'll be plenty to make that. I made this one using a full, I have 3 skeins of that. I'm going to use, or this particular one, it used up almost the full 3 skeins, and it's quite long. So I'm going to try to make these motorcycles. Beautiful day out for being out on your motorcycles, that's for certain. So I'm going to definitely make the Salty ART longer. I might also adjust the Salty ART because it's more of a straight line down. I kind of want to adjust it maybe so it's a little bit more A-line, so it's just a little bit more comfy fitting around my belly. And so I'm thinking I might be increasing the stitches a little bit every so many rounds going down the body. I'll just kind of do some increasing down the equivalent of the side seams. We shall see. But other than that, I've done a lot of knitting this week, as you can see, and got a handful of school things done. Administrative work kind of stuff had to be done this week. I'll have a few things that have to get done next week as well, early in the week. So we don't have too many other major plans this weekend. This morning we went out. It was the very first morning that our farmer's market just down the street was open. And I was hoping I would have a little itty bitty bouquet of flowers to show you today. The family that have the booth up with that usually have the little bouquets, they just had potted plants for your garden. So it is spring, that's more of a demand for that. So there were all kinds of like geraniums and all kinds of other hanging baskets that you could put on your decks and things like that, or potted plants for starting up in your garden. But they didn't have my little bouquets. I was really hoping for a little baby bouquet to show you guys, but hopefully that'll be coming in a few weeks. Hopefully she'll get those out there, hopefully soon. We shall see. So we did that this morning, had our breakfast at our favorite little place. They do sausage, egg and cheese little bunwiches. They're so good, so good. So that we had that for breakfast. We looked around, we bought a couple cookies. There's this one place, they do these really nice, they do a chocolate chip cookie, but it's like 2 layers of cookies that are sealed together around the edges, and this one has Snickers bar inside it, like a chunk of, we'll see. Never had that flavor before, but we'll have those probably for a treat tomorrow. We won't have it today. We'll probably have that for a treat tomorrow. And then we're going over to our friends for a barbecue tonight or this afternoon. It starts, I think it runs from 4 till 7. It's got a bunch of people coming over. So we're going to that. Tomorrow we have church, and then we'll go out for lunch we usually go out for lunch with a few friends after church every week on Sundays. Then in the afternoon, we're just going to relax. In the evening, we'll relax. It's going to be nice this Sunday because this will be the first Sunday in quite some time that the hubby is free on Sunday evening. Usually he has his youth group on Sunday evenings, but they are closed up they're not doing youth group during the summer months. So that'll be finished. So I don't know if we'll do anything Sunday evening or not, I don't know. And then Monday there's a parade in town. We're gonna watch that. One of the thrift stores, it's a couple blocks away from us. They're having 50% off everything on Monday. They always have on holidays. They do they usually do a 50% off sales, so we're gonna go check that out and see if there's anything of interest that we see there and want to get. And that's about it. I'll be happily knitting. Dishcloths this afternoon, Penguano beyond that, and then watch out for the 1st of June because I'll be casting on all the things. So that's about it. I shall let you go. Take care, everyone, and I will see you guys again in a week. Bye.